It's been a long time, ladies and gentlemen. Long time no see. But I'm back from my forever death of non-recording. And we have a super cool clip called The Balloon Effect. And before you say, Vladimir, you've not only gone loony but totally balloony, just hear me out. But I dedicate this clip actually to a colleague of mine who is interpreting no more, no less about balloons. And not just balloons, but global balloons. And that's kind of a pun because balloons in Spanish are globos. And I've just been having a very jolly time making good-hearted collegiate fun of her in a nice way, saying Miss Balloon Interpreter and La Chica de los Globos, the balloon girl. I've been also saying, did you study balloonology in college, Luba? I think that's kind of cute. But anyway, honestly, my hat's off in admiration, because if somebody can interpret about medical devices one week and fly all across the North American continent and then interpret about balloons and then the very next week translate serious, and I mean serious, literature from Russian into Spanish, our languages match, Russian, English, Spanish, then that's truly cool. So I dedicate this clip to you, Luba, and we owe my revival and resuscitation to this clip. All right, what is the balloon effect? So we already have the Merlin effect in my book, and if you haven't read it, then read it. We have the coffee cup effect in my book and maybe on this channel. So let's talk about and invent the balloon effect. It's still in the inception stages, so forgive me if I don't describe it perfectly. But is there anything that is ever described perfectly? That's still me philosophizing. One of our Russian poetic greats, Tuchev, said in Russian, "Мысль изреченная есть ложь." For you Russian linguists out there, that's your challenge of the day. How would you poetically translate into English? For English speakers, I'm going to give you the literal quote-unquote translation, and at the end of the video, we'll see if I can come up with a poetic translation. But it basically means a thought expressed is inevitably a lie, meaning like there is never a direct 100% correlation because the thought we think and the words we speak. How did I ever get off on this tangent? All right, the balloon effect. So a balloon obviously flies, right? And we want our message to fly, but we don't want it to fly overhead or overboard or too far or too near, right? We want it to land exactly where we want it to land. We don't want it to explode or implode or anything. So first, let's take this analogy. Let us say that the balloon itself is the message, and very often balloons do carry cute messages, right? Like the words written on the balloon. But even if they don't carry a message on the balloon, I mean, the balloon itself is a message. It's like, be happy, be joyful, it's pink or it's green, it flies, hopefully. So what do we need to do? We need to inflate it enough where the message is visible, whether it's the written word or the balloon itself, and it has to take off. Let's say that it's a helium balloon. So if we don't inflate it enough, it will never take off, it will never land, the message will never be visible. And we're filling it with the linguistic air. I know this is kind of esoteric, but let's just say that we are, with our communication ability, with our linguistic prowess, and also with our delivery. Like the helium to some degree is our delivery. If the delivery is weak, the balloon will just go, right? It will go nowhere if there's not enough helium. But now if we overinflate it, and if our translation is way too inflated, right, like bombastic and pompous and so on, if the register is way too high, if it's overly complex, it's just going to explode right there and then, and it will never reach the recipient, right? Like if all you need to do is say hello and maybe say good to see you, right? If those are the words said and you're like, kind sir, I cannot truly and properly express the great, amazing, and incredible honor and pleasure of witnessing your presence in the here and now, not in the yesteryear or in tomorrow. The person will be like, what the hell are you talking about? So that's exploding the balloon. And again, if you don't put enough helium in, it flies nowhere. Like, let's say we do need a little bit of like diplomatic grandeur, and all we say is like, hey dude, how are you? I mean, that's just going to be a balloon that goes nowhere. Okay, so it has to have a sufficient amount of air, but not too much to deliver the message. And the air here is our delivery, our skills, our linguistic quality, right? Sometimes, if there is a weight, some sort of a weight, like, have you guys heard of, what is this called? Lawn Chair Larry. If you haven't looked it up, if you haven't heard it, look it up. It's some guy, sounds like something I would do. Some guy who had dreamt or maybe dreamed, whatever past tense he wants or you want, of flying on his lawn chair or armchair through the air, and he actually made his dream come true. Good for you, Larry. And he tied whatever quantity of balloons to his chair, and he flew. It was either in Orange County or Los Angeles County, and yeah, he accomplished his lifelong dream. Of course, the police were waiting for him when he landed, but the cute and ironic thing is they did not know how to find him exactly, because he didn't exactly violate anything specific. There are like no laws or regulations against tying balloons to your chair and flying in those balloons. Anyway, cute story. But sometimes there's a weight, and then you need more balloons, right? What would be the weight? Maybe the message is very convoluted. Maybe it's really difficult. Maybe it's actually really emotional. So sometimes you do need more linguistic prowess, not necessarily more words. Could be more words. You don't want to be too verbose. We'll talk about that in a second. But you need more linguistic skills and prowess to get the message off the ground. You need to put it tactfully. Maybe you need to use linguistic tools and so on. So sometimes you need to tie not one balloon, but maybe like 50 balloons, right? If the heroine of our story, Luba, who's a pretty svelte and slender girl, were flying through the air, she'd probably need like 22 balloons, and I'm not fat, but I would probably need like 42 balloons, you know? But again, if you tie too many, one, it's going to go somewhere into the stratosphere and never reach the recipient. And two, even if it does reach the recipient, or it would maybe inundate them and suffocate them. Like, have you ever bought a whole lot of balloons? I have like 30 or 50, and you're almost like a little grain of sand among all those balloons. They're all around you, so you might confuse yourself and the recipient. So the message here is an exact quantity, well, maybe not an exact quantity, but the exact right amount of words and tools to deliver the message, not too much and not too little. Also, though, you have to kind of understand where your recipient is. Are they a meter away, or are they 100 meters away across a little pond? Are they an ocean away? So you have to sort of gauge the helium in the balloons accordingly. Like this dude, Lawn Chair Larry, was popping his balloons as a means to control the height of his flight. So if he was going too high, he would pop a couple balloons, and that's how he actually landed. He slowly popped them, and I think he actually got tangled up in the electrical lines or in the trees or something of this sort. Again, way to go, Larry. My admiration. Maybe I'll have to do this stunt someday. Do this stunt for a stint. Anyway, so yeah, you have to sort of gauge the helium and the number of balloons. And in this case, I think it would be actually your delivery, your loudness, your technical equipment, like how far or how near do you want these balloons to go. Another part of the balloon effect is you yourself shouldn't be overly inflated or deflated. If you're too deflated, you just go nowhere as an interpreter, meaning not enough confidence, too diffident, too shy, too modest, and so on. If you're too inflated, you pop or you fly towards the sun like Icarus or Icarus or whatever the pronunciation of the Greek inflated quote-unquote hero was, who didn't listen to the gods, or his father Daedalus, who invented, the wings. And he flew too near the sun, and the wax melted, and he fell and he died. So don't be overly inflated. Icarus. So don't be overly inflated or overly deflated. I mean, that just makes perfect sense. The balloon effect is just becoming more and more balloony. And then I think I promised to translate that phrase by Tuchev. Actually, let me do it now. So again, the Russian phrase was "Мысль изреченная есть ложь." A thought expressed is inevitably a lie. And I think I came up with something like a thought expressed, the truth belies. And here's your homework. If you don't know the word belies, look it up. It's actually a good, fancy English word. By the way, kudos to my colleague Luba, because there was one fancy Russian word which actually means fancy, vычурный. She didn't know, but she plagued me about it until she memorized it. So that's how a true interpreter and translator acts. All right, somehow I lasted a magical 10 minutes with this very loony balloon analogy. Again, it's still in the inception. Maybe I will write an article about it and then sort of put the thoughts down on paper. And again, like I said, there are two really cool effects in my book, translation essays. One is the coffee cup effect and one is the Merlin effect. And those are at least more thought out and serious than the balloon effect, but I wanted to share this with you guys. And if you think this is completely absurd, then of course I'm to blame. And if you absolutely love it and love the fact that I came back, then Luba is to blame or to thank. But anyway, use the balloon effect, use whatever effect you want to help you become a better interpreter. And now that I'm back, at least I will stay back for a while. So I'll see you soon in the next clip.